In this second submodule, we will describe figures and tables in scientific article writing. It is important to note that these are the main elements in any particular manuscript. They are the engines in scientific papers, the key elements driving the whole storytelling and flow. Hence, any scientific article writing attempt must absolutely finalize these figures and tables before even the first draft of writing is composed. In fact, you should discuss the arrangement and flow of these figures and tables first with your supervisor before writing. This will save you the agony of rewriting the whole manuscript if the flow is not acceptable by your supervisor. Before we go on further, please check do we have the right tools to make our figures and tables. Commercial software such as Adobe Illustrator and Microsoft PowerPoint, as well as freeware such as GIMP and Inkscape are great resources to help you to start making figures. For statistics, there are also many choices such as GraphPad, Prism and SPSS, normally depending on the license that our university acquired. So please check with our library if you want to know more. Anyway, it does not matter which software that you used. Most importantly, you are consistent with your selection and well-versed in operating them. Having to change from software to software will make your life hard and confusing. Once you have successfully generated your figures or tables, then the next question is which format is the best one to submit to journals. The answer lies within the journal instruction to authors or similar naming, commonly present in your target journal website. For instance, here is the instruction for making figures in the Journal of Plant Cell. The file format accepted are in TIFF, EPS, PPT and others listed here. In terms of resolutions, the DPI is largely determined whether your figure is a line graph, or grayscaled or colored. Please inspect your journal instruction carefully before submission. Now, between figures and tables, which one should you choose? Which one is the best way to describe our data? If you look onto these table and figure, you will realize table is a great way to present data when you are working with numbers, whereas figure is used when we are dealing with shape and pattern. Figure is a far more meaningful data presentation to comprehend the answer to a certain hypothesis, formulated early on during experimental stage. However, when selected data points and actual values are vital, then a table is chosen. Again, remember to discuss this with your supervisor too. There are many types of figures that you can make. For examples, pie chart, bar chart, line chart and radar chart. Pie chart is an effective way to highlight data proportions, while bar chart is useful in comparing values between categories. Line chart is displaying changes over time and space, whereas radar chart is used when categories are not directly comparable. There are also many other types of figures such as flow chart to demonstrate process within your experimental workflow, and methodological figure to visualize certain instrument or apparatus or special method. Meanwhile, visual images are great for photographs and spatial representation. Recently, other types of figures such as computer-generated imagery (G) are also presented in many research articles. Remember to always check recent published articles to guide you in selecting the best way for data presentation. There are also common mistakes in making figures as listed here. This include wrong figure types such that the most important elements for answering a particular research question are not obvious. There are also problems with weak descriptive titles, repeated data in several forms of figures and tables, as well as cluttered lines, symbols and numbers. Poorly chosen axis scale and improperly labeled and sorted categories are also the many reasons why readers find it difficult to understand your figure. As an exercise, please have a close look at this figure for a minute. What is wrong with this figure? You may stop this video to think about this. There are 5 main problems with this figure. First, cluttered error bars followed by the lack of clarify for the symbols used and their meaning. Thirdly, spacing in this line graph is not utilized fully, leaving empty spaces. The x-axis is also not detailed enough, and lastly, the figure legend is only descriptive without context. How about this figure after some corrections? The comparison is much clearer now as the statistics are shown as least significant difference, LSD. Furthermore, x-axis is more descriptively titled and appropriate units are presented. The figure legend is now far stronger with storytelling information rather than just plain description. Now how about tables? There are also common mistakes associated with making tables as listed here. This include weak descriptive titles, unnecessary and redundant data, over-precise numbers that leads to cluttering, as well as tables and data not arranged properly to highlight important information and relationship between elements. Let us inspect this table for a minute. What is wrong with it? Take a minute to think about this. Now this is what we have done to effectively present this table. First, we have made a storytelling title and legend, whereas the over-precise numbers are rounded to remove overly cluttered elements. Furthermore, we have sorted these values accordingly such that readers can make a better sense of how the data is interpreted. Remember to always make your figures and tables stand alone. This means that a reader can just pick up any figure and table of yours and understand the story behind it without actually reading the complete article. This is where figure and table legends are important. To do that, there are 5 key parts as listed here that a legend must have. First, it must have a title for summary, then some results, followed by any other explanation to detail components and labels used. Furthermore, description of the statistical notion used, and other symbols must also be properly written. By doing that, readers are well informed about our presented figure and table. Lastly, and perhaps the most vital thing to consider, is whether your figures and tables are really that important. Are they really essential to the whole manuscript or not? If not, consider moving them to supplementary. Now let us do some exercise. Look at your article of interest, i.e., find figures and tables presented in their papers, and consider the following questions. Are they important for the whole story? Are they appropriate in terms of format, types and legends as what we have learned just now? All the best, everyone.